Elemental is good. It might not be one of the best Pixar films, but I do have a very good reason why you should see it in theaters before it comes to Disney+. I don't know why I haven't been hearing anyone else talk about this obvious reason for animated Disney films underperforming at the box office. I'm pretty sure that Disney accidentally trained its audience to not watch their animated films in theaters. To explain that, let's go over a bit of recent history. Disney Plus launched not that long before the pandemic hit, and obviously for a while people were watching movies at home but not in the theaters. When this pandemic started to come down, they reopened movie theaters, but they still gave people options if they wanted to stay at home. So some of Disney's movies like Jungle Cruise, Black Widow, and more relevant to what we're talking about, Raya and the Last Dragon, had these releases where they simultaneously released in theaters and they had an option to buy them for an extra price on Disney+. If I'm remembering correctly, it was $30 to be able to watch it on Disney+. To a large family, that's arguably a more financially viable option, rather than buying a ticket for each child. And there was also the convenience factor, since parents would rather just stay at home than make sure all the kids have their shoes on, drive all the way to the theater, make sure they're all not too rowdy in the movie theater, etc., etc. And then there were other films, specifically the ones from Pixar, Turning Red and Soul. Those were films that had no theatrical release. Instead, they just went straight to Disney+. So this is already setting up a scenario in which people are getting used to watching Disney's animated films on Disney Plus for the first time, rather than watching them in theaters at all. Now fast forward to the release of Encanto, which is a super popular film, but believe it or not, Encanto, the film that everyone kept gushing about for months, the film that introduced We Don't Talk About Bruno, which took over radio stations and became the temporary new Let It Go, that Encanto underperformed at the box office. It only got popular because people watched it on Disney Plus after the fact. So that's when it hit that even without the pandemic, people are still in the mindset of, why should I gather up all the kids with their shoes and drive to the theater to pay money when I could just wait a few months and it'll come to Disney Plus. Because Disney's animated films have been coming to Disney Plus not too long after they're done in theaters, so it's not that long a wait. So the question you're probably asking is, why is that my problem? The problem for us is, if this continues, Disney won't see why they need to put so much time and money into their animated movies. Because spending $200 million on a film just for people to watch it on Disney Plus is not financially viable long term, especially not with the number of animated films they make. And people are wondering why Pixar is making Toy Story 5. It's because they need guaranteed moneymakers right now. People are starting to realize that their live-action remakes are terrible. Lucasfilm announced that they were making a Star Wars film about the very first Jedi, and nobody cares. And Marvel is slowly becoming the new Lucasfilm. So with all that in mind, they really want Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios to do well. And if people keep not watching films like Encanto and Elemental in theaters, then you can expect Toy Story 10. So why must you see Elemental in theaters and not wait until it comes to Disney Plus? Because it's a big budget animated film that's not a sequel or remake, and that needs to be supported now more than ever. Now, I'm not against sequels, but they need to make originals too. I don't want a scenario in which they only make sequels. Imagine if Pixar had made A Bug's Life 2 instead of Inside Out. Or imagine if Disney had made Bolt 2 instead of making Encanto. And what I've said about supporting Elemental extends to Wish if Wish turns out to be good. If Elemental bombs at the box office and then Wish turns out to be really good and it still bombs at the box office, then I think eventually Disney is either going to bring down the budget on their animated movies, or they're just going to commit to only making sequels from now on, or something like they only have big budgets for the sequels and the originals are low budget. And of course you can make a good animated movie on a lower budget, but that's really not what you want from Disney. You want those big spectacles and care taken into those small details. So with all that in mind, Elemental is not a top-tier Pixar film, but I must now sell it to you as if it's the greatest film ever made. Friends, have you not waited all your lives for a movie in which a puddle of water falls in love with a ball of fire? I think you have. Elemental is a film in which love thrives in spite of cliches. I mean, in spite of cultural differences. I can't do this. Granted, I didn't laugh much during the film, but sometimes I'll watch a film, acknowledge that it's funny, and not laugh because my tastes are weird. I think they did laugh a few times here and there. With the exception of a few flaws here and there, I did like the relationship between Ember and Wade. There's a few moments where I want to roll my eyes, but I can't help but think maybe this does happen in real life with irrational humans. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. There's a few moments later in the film that's like, why are you being such idiots about this? But I can't say it's unrealistic for people to be idiots with their emotions. And there is a moment very close to the ending where you're gonna roll your eyes so hard when you see it. It's just one of those moments where you think, wake me when it's over. What they do have going for them is each of them having what the other lacks. Wade is better at making connections with people, but he has no passion or drive for what he's doing in life. Meanwhile, Ember gives 110% into what she's doing and enjoying it, even if it's not her first choice of what to be doing, but she's too irritable to make connections with people. And obviously the animation is gorgeous. You can really tell that a lot of very talented animators worked very hard on that and put a lot of passion into it, and hopefully they were paid sufficiently. So I recommend watching Elemental in theaters before it comes to Disney Plus, please. And remember, when Wish releases, look up reviews. If the reviews say it's good, then go watch it in theaters before it's too late. If it turns out to be bad, then save your money, of course. We want to support good animated films. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and support art before it's too late.